Well, 2024 was not a very good year for Democrats, and it looks like it's about to get a whole lot worse. Kamala Harris is eyeing a comeback, and Joe Biden continues to nurse his delusions. According to the Wall Street Journal, the outgoing president, quote, thinks he could have won in 2024 election, according to people familiar with Biden's thinking. Biden doesn't see that as a critique of Harris's campaign somehow, these people say. As he has told people, he simply believes that as the man who stopped Donald Trump in 2020, he could have done it again. So while Joe tries to salvage what's left of his legacy, former Hillary pollster Mark Penn is pointing out how the warm, fuzzy days of Uncle Joe are gone for Democrats.
I don't know what history will tell us, but I can tell you the American people have really lost all trust, faith, and confidence in President Biden. It really deteriorated with the pullout on Afghanistan, where his whole image of being a kind, decent man just was destroyed in the way those servicemen that he's never really fully, recognized or talked about, lost their lives in that. And it went downhill from there. And I think he no longer is viewed as somebody who people see as Uncle Joe anymore.
And things are no better for the word salad queen, whose campaign flushed $1 billion down the toilet in 100 days and is now millions in debt. Kamala Harris is reportedly weighing her political future, with an ex-advisor saying she's not out of the game just yet.
I don't think the world has seen the last of Vice President Kamala Harris. I don't know how she will show up again, but she is a young politician who garnered over 75 million votes in this election, and she will be back. When it comes to Donald Trump and his presidency, I know a lot of folks are like, Donald Trump has a lot of bluster. We need to wait and see what he will do.
So, Katie, my favorite line in the Wall Street Journal story is the Biden doesn't see that as a critique of the Harris campaign, that he thinks he would have won. In other words, you're a loser and I'm not.
Well, okay, he would have lost. Definitely would have lost. But his whole point when they were trying to push him out of the race was, show me the polling that Kamala Harris can beat Trump. And they couldn't do that, but they pushed him out anyway. So he thinks he would have had a better chance, just given they couldn't answer the basic question for him about why he should leave the race, given he had to beat Trump the first time. And I think that in the next couple of years, you're going to see more detail about what actually led up to that process, given that we really don't know exactly how that went down. I mean, let's not forget, he posted a letter on X, and then we didn't hear from him for 24 hours. No confirmation about who put out the tweet, how it was written, what the discussion was. We were just led to believe that all of a sudden, after 3 weeks of saying, I'm not leaving, that all of a sudden he changed his mind and wasn't pushed out. So he would have lost, I think, maybe at a higher level than Kamala Harris, which is saying a lot. But in terms of, he was saying, show me the data that she's going to win. And they couldn't do it. And she went on to lose.
Remarkable. Nicole, does Kamala Harris have a political future?
So first of all, we have to all remember that she was rejected in 2019, and the only reason we have continued to see her since then is because she checked boxes and made the vice president. It was not a surprise that she lost the election. Democrats rejected her first in 2019. Republicans just joined in this last election. But, talking about President Biden and knowing when to bow out gracefully is probably the ultimate mic drop. And instead of having that Obama-era moment that turned into a meme, we saw President Biden, he's essentially stumbled down the tarmac as his exit. And maybe if he left in 2022 after the midterms, graciously bowed out, let the Democrats have that new generation of leadership, maybe some of his legacy would have been preserved, whatever that would be. But I have to agree, he no longer has that Uncle Joe moment. He's grumpy grandpa. And it's really been this demise of him, mentally and physically, but also Afghanistan withdrawal and everything that has happened since then. I don't think that history is going to look favorably upon him.
But he is starting a diaper trend in Times Square tonight, so give him credit for that. Kennedy, exit polling has as they've recalibrated and figured out how wrong all the polling was, exit polling shows that there are, perhaps the only time in the history of polling in America, there are more Republicans, self-described Republicans in the country, than there are Democrats. And that's with the media on their side.
Yes.
What does that tell you?
It tells me that people are hurting, and the government that has been in place is not working for them. And the beautiful thing about this country is people can make a change. They can do it collectively. They can do it individually. When the economy feels down for individuals, the trends tend to be kicking the people the hell out of office who won't admit that the economy is bad, and really scolding people for complaining that they can no longer afford things. Joe Biden isn't the man that he was in 2020. Joe Biden is essentially a vegetable. And, shame on him and shame on his handlers for allowing him to get to this point where this is how he will be remembered. And you know what? Maybe history will look on him kindly, because Jimmy Carter, God rest his soul, was a horrible president. But now, as people are eulogizing him and obituaries are written about him, they're saying wonderful things about his post-presidency. Joe Biden, and unless there's a miracle of science that is enacted within the next 18 months, he doesn't have time on his side. He doesn't have decades to rebuild his image and win a Nobel Peace Prize. So I think, what you see is what you're going to get for quite some time. I do think that he would have done better than Kamala Harris. I don't think he would have beaten Donald Trump.
I do too.
I do think he would have won at least one battleground state. And I think there are enough Democrats who are disgusted by the way he was kicked out of the race that they still would have remained loyal enough to him to vote for him one last time.
Or they could have tried not rigging their own primary and have it actually let voters decide. So today we saw video footage of President Biden leaving St. Croix to go to his beach house in Delaware. He's been on vacation 575 days of his presidency. That's 40% of his presidency. Would you take a job if you got 40% of your time was paid vacation?
I might. And he's going from one beach house to another.
Think about how many cold showers you could take with that kind of time on your hands.
The thing I love about this story that you read from, people familiar with Joe Biden's thinking. Who are these people that are familiar with his thinking? Is there a whole room full of people? Did the editors of the newspapers have them on speed dial?
I think you may be the only person familiar with his thinking, because when you do your impersonation of him, I can't tell the difference.
I try. But as for Kamala, I think if I could give her some advice, I mean, I'm not an advisor, but if I were advising her, I would tell her, I do think she has some future. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's in electoral politics. I don't think voters really like her. So I would say, don't do anything close to electoral politics. She should take a page from Al Gore, maybe produce a documentary. Doesn't have to be true.
Grow a beard, drive across the country?
Yeah, the beard would help. No. Then she could, if she had something, act like the Obamas. I mean, she was in the White House. She was the vice president. So just act like you are the former president. You could go around the world and you can produce films, maybe get a Netflix deal. People will love her. Just do that. Just don't run for office again. That's my advice.
Might try to be governor. I mean, her whole career is failing up. Maybe she just keep doing that.
Yes, she's been very successful failing.
She has. So
I
maybe
think
she can keep doing
Californians have been so abused. I don't know that they would put themselves up for that.
Yeah, do some. We're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
Maybe.
Okay.